Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video. Today I'm doing a review of the brand new Out of Time box, well, I was about to say box set then, but CD, which, Out of Time Episode 1. It's of a trilogy, and yeah, I'll go over the packaging up first. Finally it's released, obviously with everything that's going on in the world. Big Finish Audios have really sort of been, it's been difficult for them to send out stuff physically. Which I guess is really good that they have the Big Finish Audio app, so if you do buy a release from them and have the app on your phone, you can listen to this audio as soon as you purchase it and it releases and that, or when you purchase it and or pre-order it, and then when it releases you get the download immediately for free pretty much. So yeah, first of all, packaging, we've got David Tennant, Tom Baker, Supreme Dalek, some drone Daleks from like Genesis, Tom's TARDIS, David's TARDIS, the cathedral in the background, the sort of 2005 to 2009 sort of Doctor Who logo, Out of Time by Matt Fitton, Big Finish, We Love Stories, the Doctor Who Jodie Whittaker thing there, which says brand new adventures, full cast audio dramas, and then in the inside you've got the sort of standard cover that it came with, which was the Jodie Whittaker one, Out of Time and all the rest of the cover. And then you've got the disc and the artwork there. Removing the disc, you've got also available like the most recent releases for the 4th Doctor and the 4th Doctor Adventure series, and likewise with the 10th Doctor Adventure series, so yeah. Then on the back you've got the two TARDISes, which kind of remind me, having them sort of almost coming across as though they're flying through space, kind of reminds me of Twice Upon a Time. And then you've got the blurb, the runtime, which is 120 minutes, if you include the track for the behind the scenes, I guess. So yeah, now I'm going to just sort of talk about what I thought of Out of Time number 1, or the first Out of Time box set, release even. I keep saying box set for some weird reason. Anyway, yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's sort of for lack of a better term, it kind of reminds me of like a summer blockbustery movie, and I mean that in the nicest way. Like I think the plot is interesting, but also basic. It's also quite sort of it's got this sort of manic sort of energy, frenetic, bouncy sort of fast-paced energy to it, but I guess that's just because it's a multi-Doctor story. It's also a multi-Doctor story with arguably two of the most popular in terms of like, like just sort of pop culture sort of Doctors, like even if you're not a massive fan of Doctor Who and you're about sort of the age of 15 to about 30, you will probably know David Tennant as the Doctor, and then if you're anywhere between your sort of 40 to sort of mid-50s or 40 to about 60, you will probably think Doctor Who and then think Tom Baker, they're both very much synonymous being the Doctor and that, even though both of them have stepped away from the role for quite a few significant years. Obviously Tom more so, seeing as he's 86 now, whereas Tennant is still, he's in his 50s I think now, or early 50s I think, which is kind of mad because he don't look that old. But anyway, apparently in the behind the scenes they were saying that this is one of earlier sort of audios they first did do during lockdown and that. So I just want to say thank you for everyone at Big Finish for still being able to perform and do the sound design and the script writing and the directing and everything, from Nick Briggs through to David Tennant and Tom Baker and everyone in between, all the supporting cast, all the audio engineers and sound designers, the cover designer, everyone. Thank you so much for making this possible, because for myself and other Doctor Who fans, it feels like a bit of light in an otherwise dark situation and or time for us, I guess. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Tom and David Tennant just sound like they would always do, like they slip into this role very easily. Tom obviously had 7 years in the role, and then plus he's done he has done more audios than Tennant, but then again, Tennant hasn't left the role as long, or it hasn't been as long since he left the role. It's been like 10 plus years, I think, and he's done a handful of audios now. And as I say, they both just sound like their incarnations. Nick Briggs gives a phenomenal sort of rendition of the Daleks. You know, he even says in the behind the scenes he's doing the drones, the normal sort of genesis of the Daleks drone sort of thing, but he's also doing the Supreme Dalek, or the either. I like when Tennant says, or the 10th Doctor even says, do I call you the Supreme Dalek or Dalek Supreme? Because I have no idea. Now that he said that, I can't stop thinking, which is it actually? But either way, Nicholas Briggs makes the point that, you know, for that one he had to do the very deeper voice, which I like because it shows that Dalek does have a unique voice / design, and for lack of a better term, me being a Dalek enthusiast and a madman, a personality as it were. You know, I'll be honest, with the Dalek Supreme or the red and gold one on the cover, I feel like he's in unbelievably criminally underrated, or not underrated, but criminally underused in the series. We see him in Stolen Earth and Journey's End, but then we see him in Magician's Apprentice, which is familiar, and that's about it. Like two-parters, and he doesn't do much of anything in either of them. So if you ever wanted more from that character, and or that Dalek in particular, this is the story for you, because you get him being more present, or more of a presence from him. You know, the place, although this isn't part of the Time Lord Victorious sort of massive, timey-wimey extravaganza that is, although this isn't part of that, I could easily sort of say that this is a nice stepping stone towards someone getting into that, because if you listen to this and then go into it, it's probably, this is a nice sort of, as I say, a stepping stone, and it eases you into that, I think, potentially. Whether or not Matt Fitton did that intentionally, I have no idea, but either way, I think it's because Tennant, where he is placed in my head, I feel like in his timeline, he's placed between Waters of Mars and The End of Time, part 1 and 2, maybe just before Day of the Doctor, because that's where that is placed in the timeline for the 10th Doctor. So maybe it's just before he's done all that, or it's before Day of the Doctor, but still, or before Day of the Doctor, but after Waters of Mars, because the 4th Doctor, spoilers for the story. If you don't want to know spoilers, then about the story, I'm telling you spoilers. Sorry, but the 4th Doctor even says about how the do you travel with anyone? And the 10th Doctor says, no, I'm not travelling with anyone at the moment, you know, sort of thing. You know, and I also love the fact that Matt Fitton is trying to almost sort of poo-poo the idea of like what happened in End of Time, which I'm not a massive fan of myself, which was the whole idea that Tennant was having a tantrum and that, and chucking all of his toys out of the pram, being all like, oh, but if I regenerate, then I die, and it's some new man swantering around the universe, or swanning around the place, and I die, everything that I am. And, you know, Tom just being Tom, he's like, well, you know, you being here, well, you're a embodiment of the fact that I won't be around forever, you know, or you're an embodiment of my mortality, you know. And I think that's so true, you know, like, yes, the 4th Doctor isn't the Doctor anymore, obviously Jodie Whittaker is, but that doesn't mean that she wasn't once the 4th Doctor, or the 10th, or the 3rd, or, you know, the War Doctor, or do you know what I mean? So, and I think, I love the fact that Tom and all the 4th Doctor gets a chance to sort of try and say that to the 10th Doctor and that. And yeah, I love the setting of the sort of Cathedral of Contemplation. I love the name, the setting, and the sort of timey-wimey nature of it. It feels very much like Matt Fitton thought, I adore the sort of castle spinning around, Pan's Labyrinth-esque nature of Heaven Sent and the castle there. I'll take that mixed with the time corridor aspect of Resurrection of the Daleks, put the two together, and you've got the, you know, Cathedral of Contemplation, because it's like a spinning cathedral outside of space, or no, outside of time, but still in our universe, I think. Although I could be wrong about that. I love a lot of the supporting cast, although I will agree with the tweet that Billy Garrett John made from Twitter. He made the point that, like, this audio, one of the criticisms he had of the audio drama is the fact that the supporting cast are a bit meh. a bit weak. But then again, he pointed out, but to be fair, you don't go to the story for a strong supporting cast. I think if you are going into this audio story with that in mind, you will probably be disappointed. It's not got the strongest cast of characters, but I don't think it really needs that. I honestly think that if you've never listened to a Doctor Who audio story before and your favourite Doctor is either David Tennant or Tom Baker, then this is the story for you to get into Doctor Who audios. It's, again, I think the runtime on the Big Finish website says that it's only 74 minutes. That might be without the sort of added sort of intro and outro and the behind the scenes thing, maybe, I'm not sure, but either way, it's not the longest story ever. It is just one consistent narrative from point A to point B, as in there's no cliffhangers, it's not split up into parts like part 1 and 2 like a sort of Fourth Doctor Adventure Series episode would be. It's more akin to just one long new series episode. Sort of think of it that way. The intro and the outro are very Tennant-esque, or they are the Tennant sort of 10th Doctor sort of intro and outro, theme and that, so which is fine. And that, I feel like it balances well between the two, and I think Tom is, in his timeline, he's just done Hand of Fear and Deadly Assassin and that, and instead of mentioning Leela, the 10th Doctor mentions about Romana and K9 and that, which I quite like, because I do like them, although, yeah, in my head I'm like, why doesn't he just immediately mention Leela? Although maybe that is a bit too close to the next event that the Fourth Doctor would do, so maybe that would cause ripples in the timeline. I have no idea. Who knows? It's Doctor Who. What else? Yeah, there was a twist with one of the side characters, and I thought it was a good twist, and I think if this was my first audio drama, or Doctor Who Big Finish audio drama, I think I would have been like, oh my god, like my mind would have been blown away by this, and yeah, it would just be like, oh my god, this is amazing. But, this isn't my, for lack of a better term, first rodeo with the Doctor Who audios, so I kind of felt like it was fairly predictable, but again, depending on how many audios you've listened to and that, you might be like, oh my god, this is so surprising. And that, and there was a nice Easter egg to the End of the World, I think, the Ninth Doctor story, and as a big Ninth Doctor and or Series 1 fan, I loved that sort of thing. And I just generally loved the sort of, for lack of a better term, banter between the 4th and the 10th Doctor. I love the fact that there was banter and there was some sort of level of harmony and understanding and respect, but there was also, they like and respect each other so much that they're not afraid to butt heads and kind of rub each other the wrong way, and or they don't shy away from friction completely, which I guess is somewhat unique maybe with this story, maybe because most of the time with multi-Doctor stories they always seem to just lean into the comedy aspect of, oh, there's multiple Doctors, oh, they'll all be like funny haha, and in terms of their differences, that's a funny thing, but very rarely do any multi-Doctor stories ever lean into the idea that the way the newer Doctor is acting kind of makes the older Doctor, or younger Doctor even, more sort of like, wait, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why are you almost doing this thing to the Daleks, or these people, or that thing, or and yeah, it's just it's funny, it's frenetic, it's fast paced, it's it's a really enjoyable story. I really did enjoy it, and I'm curious to see how the rest of this sort of trilogy goes. And honestly, after this one, I do actually want to buy the next one. I originally, before reviewing this, I was probably just going to buy this one and then leave it at that, just buy this one and not get the next two, but I'm honestly really intrigued to see where the rest of the series goes, and whether or not they're even, gonna make a cohesive narrative, as in like an actual, like if there's gonna be any connective tissue to this story with the next one with Peter Davison, and then the next one after with Colin Baker and that. So yeah, overall I'd give it a well-earned, this is a tricky one really. I think either, I'm very torn between an 8 and an 8.5. I think I'll give it an 8, a strong 8 out of 10. I think an 8.5 is a bit much because it is a bit on the more basic sort of side of storytelling, but then again it is sort of very cinematic, very funny, very witty at times. Just a fun story, fun basic, good beginner sort of story, and Tom and David are really good and they have good chemistry. I like one of the side characters who kind of plays a bit of a companion role. I love the sort of woman who tends the cathedral. I can't remember her name, but she was cool. I wish we'd seen more of her, but yeah. An 8 out of 10 from me. Thanks for watching. Please do comment, rate and subscribe.